I find it intriguing that a lot of things around us actually have some sort of relationship with Tanjong Pagar, or the old harbour. 𝘧𝘭𝘊𝘨 is a site-specific installation and is sited at Block 39 of Tanjong Pagar Distripark. I wanted it to be a visual materialization of the history of Tanjong Pagar, right from the very early days to the present. I guess when you talk about a logistical node, people will just be like, it's just like another warehouse or distribution center, which is why I thought it's important to kind of like make us rethink this, because I think people usually, they associate things that are more apparent and visible to something that effects changes. But I thought, even these are very logistical, unassuming places. These are the key nodes or the key places that cause all these changes to happen. When you view the work in relation to what you see, the port and the sea, and also on the other side, you have our flyovers, the flats, and also the buildings. It shows like a very complex history and also what it is now in terms of Tanjong Pagar, because there's so many different aspects that are packed into this space that, that makes us understand what Tanjong Pagar is. Sea references the role that the port plays, and also Singapore being an island surrounded by other islands and it being a node in this maritime trade links right from hundreds of years ago. If you're talking about the sea, it's very much nature and there are these forces at play, the wind that causes these currents and trade winds. That was the thing that brought people here, So I thought that that force of nature is intrinsic to this idea of sea and the kind of like identity building and making or memory making of places and of course of who we are. And I thought, this notion of the wind or this movement, it's translated into the work, especially when the flags are placed against the facade, and when the wind kind of like blows on it, it creates these beautiful ripples or flapping effect. In a way, I see it as a form of activating the work in response to these natural forces. The notion of flags, it's very important because it's about the idea of a deliberate attempt to mark something, be it a place or a memory. And I think these are important, especially in the context of how fast how things are changing now. Sometimes we find ourselves forgetting what things were like. I wanted to gather as many colors as possible, colors that are associated to Tanjong Pagar. So there are these 398 little squares arranged according to the sum of their RGB values. And when they're arranged in this pixel-like tapestry arrangement, they kind of form like this big picture, and they are portals for you to look into this aspect or this history of Tanjong Pagar and for you to form that connection, relationship, or perhaps to reconnect, with this place. Me and my assistants, we took a Pantone fan out to the neighborhood to try to color match some of these buildings with some of the colors. Some of the colors were taken from the epoxy floor of Tanjong Pagar Distripark, and likewise there were other colors associated or taken from the buildings. And then also abstract colors, like what is the color of the swamp? That region of Singapore used to be covered by mangrove swamps, which is no longer because they have been filled. Granite from Bukit Timah was quarried and transported down along the railway track to fill up or to build the dock at Keppel Harbour. I also remember taking the two corporate colors from the KTM, which is the Malaysian Railway Network logo. Again, that was a key presence, at that part of Tanjong Pagar. So this green is actually taken from the glazed roof tiles of the train station. And then we also had digital images, for example, like the natural history drawing commissioned by 𝘧𝘭𝘊𝘨 of the nutmeg. So the red is actually taken from the maze of that natural history drawing. I think one of the most intriguing story or the history is actually the nutmeg plantation adjacent to the port or to Tanjong Pagar Distripark. That was brought in by, in fact, was Stamford Raffles, and it's part of the colonial power to kind of like grow these cash crops, for profit. Fruit of Deceit is sited in this corridor that links the warehouse to the back corridor facing the port. So in fact, you can find your way to the work through a trail of patterns on the staircase balustrade at the side of Sea of Flags. We have painted the corridor in this almost bright brick red that's evocative of the red maize of the nutmeg. The idea to paint the corridor red and then to give it like this repeated pattern of the nutmeg fruits in gold was an attempt to colonize the space, and it's kind of like transforming this very functional, utilitarian, logistical space into this very strange, almost kind of like domestic space. It's really to push the perception of the space and what it is through this work. Even though the work has been installed, in a way, I think it's always a work in progress. I'm still kind of like subconsciously looking for these connections with Tanjong Pagar.